Ha. Yeah. Y'all know what time it is. So just sit back and relax because the show's about to start. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And we are live. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Down to Earth Talk, real life talk show for real life people. We want to bring positivity in the world of fake news and junk and disheartening situations. I was looking for a D word that meant
despair.
Despair. Yeah, despair. It's all over the world. You can find it anywhere. I mean, anywhere. Any paper, any website, and you're going to find despair. But here, Down to Earth Talk, we are here to bring you hope, life, positivity, all that jazz. Because you know what? There's a lot of solutions in the world, and you are one of those solutions. You are hope in this world. And so we're thankful for you tuning in with us today. With me, as always, is Chris Cheek, Senior Program Director of ATAP. Our guest with us is Gloria Medrano. She's going live on Facebook, so you can watch us live on Facebook as well. We're going to be talking about The Climb, an exciting show.
With Gloria, she represents Heart of San Diego, right? Organization?
Heart of the City
SD.
Heart of the City SD, yeah.
Heart of the City SD. Like, tell us a little bit about what the Heart of the City of SD. What do you have going on?
So I have a small little ministry in San Diego. Basically, the way that it got started is I was in London. I was a missionary in London for many, many years. And I came back trying to reconnect with San Diego, where I'm from. You know, started meeting with people and started hearing their story and things like that. And, you know, we started a little group at the park with just one or two people. That one or two people turned into 5 or 6 people. And from there, one military guy came. He started to bring his military friends. I was teaching out of a women's book because I did women's ministry for many, many years. It's funny. So basically, I was teaching out of a book called Lies We Believe In, How to Overcome Them. And they liked it so much. You know, they started to say, you know, why don't you do more with this and stuff? And then their friends, you know, really started to like what I was doing as well. It's now starting to talk about a nonprofit, but yeah, they're looking to me as pastor and leader and things like that.
Is this like a scheduled time?
So we meet on Thursday nights, every Thursday night now at 6 p.m. And we just meet at the McDonald's right there on Plaza Boulevard, the National City.
Okay. I love the heart that you're talking about of you're able to meet a need, and there's a lot of people that are hurting. But honestly, the name of the show today is The Climb. Is that what we've got, Danny?
Yeah. Hold on, though. I want to go over to the chat because we got people chatting. I want to let everybody know if you want to join the chat to make sure to go over to Facebook and join in with the chat. We have Steven that says, leaving everybody hanging. That's because we were having technical difficulties at the beginning. We apologize about that. Annette says, I went through that Bible study. Very good. Very good explanation point. And then Steven said, bucking trees.
Exactly.
Bucking trees. So, yeah. So the name of the episode today is The Climb, and that's something, Gloria, that you wanted to kind of share with us. That you wanted to, you know, you were passionate about, wanted to kind of share, kind of this story with us. So go ahead, tell us about The Climb.
So I, you know, it basically starts, you know, with me being in a continuation school in San Diego, because I grew up in a home that was, my dad was a biker, and the home that I grew up in was pretty dangerous, although, you know, my dad was my hero. But I dropped out of school in the 11th grade. And so I heard rumors of a school in National City, and it was a continuation school, private school run by ex-military, ex-cops, and the guy who was a professor in a school, was an elderly guy, was a mediator in the Korean War and things like that, as a Marine. And so, here I am hearing rumors about this school, and so I decided I'm going to go down there and check it out with some of my friends who had already been attending the school. And as I went down to go check it out, the way that they initiate you, you actually have to be initiated, because we're tough kids. We're coming from, people wanted to jump you into gangs and stuff. Now, I never was a gang member or anything like that, but I've associated with that arena, and then my dad being the next convict, things like that. So, anyways, I find myself at this school. They challenged me to jump into the ring, the boxing ring.
Oh, okay.
and,
Nice.
And into a wrestling match. So basically, you have to actually get jumped in. So what the school's what do you call it? The academic curriculum was mind, body, values. But the way that they kind of dealt with us tough kids was the same kind of method of, like, how you would do on the streets.
Right.
You would have to show and prove yourself. So I got challenged to go into the ring in a wrestling match, which I don't know how to wrestle or anything, but some girl challenged me, and I said, yeah, I'm down, because we don't turn down challenges.
Yeah.
And so anyway, she, of course, she won the match because she knew how to wrestle. But so here I am. I'm at the school, and these guys set the training for this particular climb, and this is where we come to the climb. It kind of starts with the training that goes behind that. These guys were self-developing us. These were great people. There wasn't a religious thing or anything, but they were just great people, and they knew how to get young people trained up, and they knew how to get our minds thinking positive through hard work, through exercise, and through challenging our mind to think better, to learn, and to get healthy at the same time.
Right.
So there's the preparation that goes into that, right? The exercise and all of that. Now, this wasn't no Mount Everest or anything like that. This was just maybe like, I don't even think it was 10 miles high or anything. but it would be the first, big hill. I don't want to say mountain, but it's a pretty big hill that I would climb.
Yeah.
And so here we are, we're all of us, and we're prepared, and we're young, maybe the ages between 16 to 17, 18-year-olds down there. And you see all the personalities and things that are happening at that moment. And we think we've done all the training that we could ever get. Now's the time to actually take action to the climb, right? And so here we are. Our teachers, I'm sure, are using some kind of military training. We're all, all of us kids are going, I know they're trying to boot camp or whatever they're trying to do, and we're like, hating on our teacher at that point. Hate, love kind of relationship at that moment. And teacher says, okay, you only got this much rations, this much food, this much water, and then you're going to be all together as a group. I'm going to separate you into these different groups. I'm going to appoint a leader, and then you're going to have to work it out as you climb this hill, right? Now, we're all street kids, and some of us have never, even been to the mountains or anything like that before. Luckily enough, I was, I've I've camped and things like that, and I was a top-notch dirt bike rider off-road Moto X and things like that. So I was used to all that kind of thing, but I was not used to doing it with people that I would have to depend on. So
Yeah.
here we are, we're climbing, right? And one group is really going really fast, and they're all like, yeah, we're gonna get to the top before you. And my group is just kind of, we're all just chaotic, and So we have a complainer in the group. We have a girly girl in the group, and she's really dragging us down and getting on our nerves. And she's like, "Oh, my hair and all the spiders and all the dirt," and we have to hear this most of the way until finally she quits. Right? She's the first dropout, and she quits. And we're telling her, because the challenge is to stay together as a group during a really difficult, tiresome time, right? And what is going to come out of us during this time? So we start to see this, what comes out of people. And so she drops out, and we're kind of like, no, don't go. But at the same time, we're going, please go.
It's fine.
We're not really getting, the whole thing behind keeping together as a group. So we let her go. She was dragging us down. Here we are, we're climbing, and then you hear another guy, and he's done good in the beginning, and when we get like almost to the top, then you start to hear men, when they get hungry, they get angry.
What?
They get angry. So you start to hear this guy, and he's kicking rocks, and he's having a fit, he's hungry, and he's letting us know, I'm hungry, and we're all hungry. And we're like, we're all hungry, And, at that time in my life, I was very shy and very quiet. And so I was just a doer. I just did what I was supposed to do quietly, right? But at this, what was coming out of me was, I was like, you need to just be quiet now, because I'm about ready to go off on you. I don't want to hear you complaining. That's what was coming out of me. So, here he was, starting to kick rocks, and the anger that was being displayed that is what was bothering me. Our leader, the guy who was leading us, was, he did good in not complaining and all of this, but he was not good at mediating to keep the group together. So we've then seen this come out of him. So this was all a learning process in this climb, right? But here we are, now we're at the top, right? And this is the point where we have to go and get the prize. There's a prize at the top that our teacher leaves for us, right? And here we are, we're now just maybe 3 of us. There's the complainer, and there's the leader who just, he's just a happy-go-lucky guy, but he just doesn't know how to keep the group, mediate the group or whatever. But now is the time, and we're exhausted. We're at the top, and we're like now exhausted. We're hungry, exhausted, and it's time to go and get the prize. Well, I see one girl, and she's like, I'm going. I put my blood, sweat, and tear to climb this hill, and I'm going to go get my prize, right? And the other, our leader was very humbly, happily like, no, we'll let you go first. It's okay. You go get it, and then I'll go get it, mine, right? But the guy who was angrily kicking the rocks broke my heart. He broke my heart. And this is something that is so memorable to me. And he got to the very top when he could have had the prize, and he sat down, and he said, he put his head down, and we said, what are you doing? And he said, I don't want it. I don't want it after all. And I said, why? And he says, because no one's going to care. Who cares if I get a prize or not? If I get it and I take it home, my parents don't care what I got. They don't care how hard I worked for this. They don't care that I was hungry. They don't care any of that. So we said, no, this is about you. This is for you. I don't care, he says.
Right.
I don't care. So he sat there, and he did not get the prize. He would not get his prize. In fact, he got to the top and walked all the way down by himself. And we said, no, you don't have to. He gave up right there, right at the peak moment. When he could have done, the whole thing here was for his own sake, for his own mind. If he would have got that prize, it would have said something to him for the rest of his life.
Right.
But instead he left. And he left us, but he left the prize as well.
Yeah.
So we kind of, grit our teeth and kind of bear down, and I said, I walked all the way up here. I'm not going to quit. And the whole thing was I wanted to make my teachers proud of me.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, I was thinking the same thing. And that's what tore me up, because I was thinking the same thing. Who cares if I get the prize?
Right.
And that was so difficult to go and to grab it. Who cares? My parents were not going to care. They wouldn't put it up on a shelf. But I grabbed that thing and I put it in my heart and I put it in my pocket and I kept it. And those other kids that I seen, I remember this to this day, grabbed what they owned. Okay, one went on to be a doctor. She's going to graduate as a doctor. One is now Sergeant Major Juan Hidalgo. And he ran for Congress.
Wow.
A great man of God. And then there's me. So those of us that grabbed that prize went on to do some pretty amazing things. So It was the journey getting there and the actual following through that this climb means so much to me. And actually, we've had sort of a school reunion, and I kind of looked at where everybody was at, and this is where I found out that some were becoming doctors. One was Sergeant Major
Right.
Juan Hidalgo is his name. And so, actually we are now working together in the city, here in San Diego, trying to figure out what we can bring to the table with our training, what we had learned along the way, and in this climb, this would just be our very first climb. Hey, for those of you watching on Facebook, I'm in a conversation with D2E talk show. So we're talking about the climb. And so anyways, in this climb, this would just be the first one. So, other ones are bigger climbs. They're not actual, we're not actually climbing an actual hill or mountain, but we're climbing in life. And that kind of sits in your mind as to, what you're going to do with the next big situation that arises, when trauma comes your way, when life happens and it's, something that is very difficult to go through.
Oh, yeah.
What are you going to do with that? What's going to happen? Are you going to follow through, or are you going to back off and quit?
And are you going to get right to the very end and then stop short after you did all the work, after you made all the effort and then just quit because it looks a little bit too tough. Oh, it's just a little bit more to do. And it's like, you quit and you lose out on obviously the experience, but also just the like you said, the prize,
I just think of how I just think of how lonely it must have been to walk down the hill by himself. You guys went up as a team and as a group, and then he's like, it's so close and like within, tangible, within grasp, and he decides to just throw his hands up and walk away from it and walk down the hill by himself,
Yeah, that tore me up, because in him giving up and walking down that lonely road to back down. It was like maybe 5 hours back down or something. You know, when he could have been together with us as a team, as a group, and that support that we would have with one another didn't have to happen, And imagine now in his life him thinking about that maybe not day in and day out, but imagine the thought of that.
Yeah. I always, just in the conversation that you're talking about, I always remember a quote from Tom Landry, I think it is, Danny?
Yep.
If I say it right. Yeah. And he says, a coach is someone who tells you what you don't want to hear, who has you see what you don't want to see, so you can be who you've always known you could be.
And do what you don't want to do.
Right. And so,
Yeah.
that's kind of what you're talking about is, so you had, team leaders, or you had the coaches in place that were kind of like, all right, you can do this. And they were kind of believing
Yes.
in you, and in their belief in you, it empowered you to be able to push through. And man, it's people in your life that like honestly are your cheerleaders.
Yep.
that tell you, hey, I'm behind you, I got your back, and I believe that you can do this. Because honestly, like when you're in that destination of the climb and you're walking and it's tiring and you're hungry and you're frustrated or whatever, it's really easy to put your head down and not want to push through. But when you've got someone in your life who's telling you, you got this.
Yeah,
No,
you can
listen,
do it.
you got this, like being that cheerleader, it does. I mean, it elevates you.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I really believe in camaraderie, and this is what we talk about in our group as well, is being that support system to one another, and being the comrade that comes alongside of you, because we're not all perfect. We all have issues and come with baggage and whatever it is that we have. I have issues too. But we can overcome together. Isn't it better to overcome together? And like you said, having that cheerleader that says, you got this, you can do this, that the coach that is right there. And we had good coaches. I have to say, I had some good people come into my life. My teachers later on became my foster parents. And I am lucky, I'm blessed that, I got to stay in their home for a year, as, his wife really, she came alongside of me, and she was very feminine, where I was rough and tumble and, used to getting into fights and things like that. She was very girly and, very, she taught ballet, and she was an artist in the schools, and, had a very high education. They didn't really watch TV. They had a library at the house. And that would be where I would read most of my very first books all the way through, so I really had some great people who really encouraged me and did a lot of developing in me.
That's awesome. Danny, what was your point? What were you going to say?
Oh, it's gone.
Because you were there.
Yeah. No, I think it's what. So in the if we go over to the comments, Steven says you should have given him a Snickers. I think he's talking about the guy that was so hungry. You're kind of acting like a jerk right now. Why don't you take a Snickers? I love those commercials.
They're so funny.
So yeah,
man,
that's awesome. I love that story. I love hearing the success too. From the people that finished the climb. Seeing where obviously that climb wasn't the thing that put you in a position to succeed in life, but it was definitely that spirit of not giving up, and that here's the trial and here's the test. Let's see if you can pass this test, and then that accelerated into other areas of life, which is so true. I think I look back at Chris and I back in the day, some of the things we used to do. We used to have this, we had the door. What was that called? We had the door with the question mark.
The threshold.
The threshold. Yeah, you had to get through the threshold. If you wanted to get on the other side of what your dreams were, you had to get through the threshold. But guess what was in the way of you getting through the threshold? And it was like legit, like gang initiated and beating you up. Like for the guys, there'd be like 6 or 7 guys you'd have to get through. You'd have to fight through to get through the threshold. And we'd not hold back.
Yeah.
You know? We'd hold people back. We'd drag them by their legs. You're not going through there, you know, as that example of how bad do you want to see
It's like the initiation process,
yeah.
right?
Well, how bad do you
No,
What you got first?
no human was harmed during that.
I think I got a couple bruises and nicks.
Oh my gosh.
Steven actually went through that, and he says in the comments right now, he says huge turning point. A huge turning point. And it was that how bad do you really want this? How bad do you
Right.
really want this? So
How
Chandra
bad do you really-
Chandra this week, she says Coram Deo the Door in Colorado, such a life-changing movement.
Moment. Yeah.
Movement. And it really was that, like, super impactful. Like, I want this more than anything. I don't care if I get beat up to get through this. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to see the success in my life. And, you know, I remember one time, Chris, it was so random, right? Remember that time we blindfolded everyone and dropped them off in the woods?
So,
They had no idea where they were. All right, find your team, get together, figure this out. I mean, we were not far away with them.
they didn't know it,
They
but
didn't know that we were watching them and they were safe all the time. But yeah, those type of things are great, and that's what I love with ATAP. We do that type of stuff. You know, we do those type of activities that are like, you know, life-changing, impactful moments in time. That and a lot of time we don't even realize we're in that moment. You know what I mean? We don't realize that that's the moment that's going to be a turning point for our lives. We just think, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this, and then we get on the other side of it.
That's where I was at. I didn't, in the climb, I didn't know the impact that was going to put on my life.
right.
All the scenarios, every single scenario that took place, I didn't understand how big that was going to play in my life. You know, and but my teachers did. They did. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew why they were training us like that, especially Professor Humphrey, who at the time was probably, I want to say, in his late 60s.
Mm-hmm.
A real strong military background, you know, kind of very educated man. And he's the man that he kind of favored me, and he would like, you know, come alongside of me, and he would give me that strong side hug, you know, that the old guys do. He would grab me and he would look me in the eye and he would say, "Knock him out, kiddo.
Yes.
Do this," kind of, you know, but that real strong stare deep into your soul, kind of, and you believed it. If he said that, you believed it.
Yeah.
Well, I need, like right now, Danny, I need you to do the Rocky talk. It's like, come on, you can do it, dude.
No, I can't because he cusses during it. Get up, you bum! Because Mickey loves you.
Because Mickey loves you.
All right, guys, we actually ran out of time. So we do have some huge announcement that we want to let everybody know about. No, my wife is not pregnant. As soon as I posted that on Facebook yesterday, I got calls like, "Is your wife pregnant?" No, that's not the huge news, and I wouldn't be announcing that on Down to Earth Talk. I love y'all, but that's not where I'm making that announcement. But Down to Earth Talk, this is our 12th episode, so we've been going pretty consistent with 3 months.
Yep.
3 months every week. Next week will be a recorded episode. It's something that we're working on because next week will be Thanksgiving and we'll be with our families. But it's something we've been working on for a couple weeks now, and we really hope you enjoy it. So make sure to come and check out the video that we post next week. But this week, it's either this week or next week, will be our very first episode that will be broadcasted with iHeartRadio. So that's super exciting.
Wow,
like,
that's
iHeartRadio is huge, and we're getting into it. So like it's been work and effort, and so we're really excited that we're going to be on iHeartRadio. So you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, TuneIn Radio, iTunes, Google Play, and now you're going to be able to hear us on iHeartRadio. So we're really excited about that. And Gloria, thank you so much for being with us this week.
We appreciate your
Thank
story.
you for having me.
And we'll see everybody next week.